You who vanished that day. You who shouldn't be able to forgive me. How can you be smiling like that right now? Your smile that always reminded me of my failures, my regrets, my own inability to do anything. That smile that I could never forget. Why do you keep repeating it? Repeating my regrets? But now I realized that smile was never meant to make me regret. It was your way of keeping a promise. You promised that you would never forget, right? I too promised the same thing. Yet even now I failed. I need to accept that your smile will always be just a memory, and I will never regret it. Not even tomorrow. Not even in the next world.
So, what exactly is regret? Why do we end up regretting something? Is it because we didn't like the outcome of our choice? Or is it because your life will be better if you made another decision? As defined by Stoicism, regret is the irrational emotion that disrupts peace. Philosophers argued that because we cannot change the past, regret is a useless rejection of the present. And this is exactly what defines the life of the self-proclaimed Shut-in NEET music producer and Mekakushi Dan No. 7, Shintaro Kisaragi. And welcome to Project 8.15, a series of videos that aim to analyze several characters from the Kagero project. And if you're new to the Kagero project, then this video is probably a good start. Hopefully. Since for Project 8.15's first video, we will be taking a look at the protagonist of the series, Shintaro Kisaragi, and his regret and acceptance. Now then, let's go back to the topic of regret. The idea of you making the choice you end up regretting being caused by fate is continuously proven by Shintaro's story. He ends up making the decision that he regrets the most in every life. The difference comes whether he accepts it or not. These themes are almost always present in every part of Shintaro's story. The name Shintaro Kisaragi already shows symbolism of acceptance. The prefix Shin can mean many things such as true, genuine, careful, and modest. But I think the meaning that suits him the best is to move forward. While the suffix Taro is usually given to the eldest son of a family, which is basically just Shintaro being a big brother. His first name generally translates into the forward-moving son. At first, it might not suit him, but as his story goes on, it becomes clear why that name makes sense. While his surname, Kisaragi, that is obviously shared with his sister, Momo Kisaragi, actually has symbolism that is both suited for their characters. Kisaragi is the traditional lunar name for the month of February in Japanese culture, and February is actually the birth month of Momo, but it also has other meanings that can help us make a connection with Shintaro as well. The February full moon is sometimes called the snow moon, which symbolizes harsh weather conditions and challenging times, and the preparation for spring or a new start. This clearly reflects Shintaro's story within the series. Now then, Shintaro isn't a great person. He's barely even a good person, and I think that's the reason why the end of his story is such an impactful one. And to be fair, he is the protagonist, so it only makes sense that it does. Though, when compared to the other characters, he doesn't seem much like a protagonist. During middle school, Shintaro was in simple terms, a bitch. To the point where the only person willing to befriend him was probably the kindest girl in his school, Ayano Tateyama. And still, even with Ayano being by his side all the time, it still doesn't change his personality much. He did make some other friends, namely Takane Enomoto and Haruka Kokonose, who was his seniors, but it still doesn't change the fact that Shintaro was not the type of person who would go out of his way to make connections with other people. But to better understand Shintaro's character, we will be going through a retrospective of songs and the story in the manga, novels, and anime. And to start up the music route, let's begin with the song that started it all. A song about someone who Shintaro saw as an enemy because of his regret. A song of turning your eyes away. Jinso Enemy, also known as Artificial Enemy, released on February 17, 2011, is the song that started it all. It is Jin's first song as a Vocaloid producer and the first song in the Kagura project. In its core, it is a song about two lonely people, and the lyrics reveal deeper themes of loneliness, escapism, artificial connection, see what I did there, and the fear of abandonment. Sung from the perspective of Ene, the girl who used to be Takane Enomoto, now trapped within the internet. At first, Ene keeps reminding Shintaro that fleeing from reality isn't the best solution. This is until she gives up and just tells him that if he can't accept reality, then he should just go live with her in the artificial world. Her invitation is a desperate attempt to connect with someone who feels just as isolated as she does. And when she asks, "Why not live with me in a man-made world?" the line carries emotional weight because it reveals her desire to escape loneliness together with him. But to focus more on Shintaro's character in this song, the line immediately establishes his emotional emptiness. He still continues living physically, but internally he feels detached from life itself. His days have become repetitive and meaningless, reduced to existing rather than truly living. This reflects how deeply trauma and grief had affected him. Instead of confronting his pain, he retreats into routine, because Shintaro's routine is predictable and emotionally safe. And in the end of the song, Shintaro tells Ene that she's nothing but a toy, and proceeds to unalive Ene and then himself after. One major reason that he offs Ene is that Ene constantly disrupts his emotional stagnation. Shintaro wants numbness. He wants silence and routine because confronting his emotions means confronting the trauma connected to his own guilt. Ene refuses to let him stay emotionally dead. She talks endlessly, mocks him, invades his space, and forces interaction. Even though she annoys him, she is also one of the only things keeping him connected to the world. And probably the only thing keeping him connected. That contradiction frustrates him deeply. The line about the toy also reflects Shintaro's inability to see genuine connection anymore. Because he is emotionally detached, he reduces Ene to an object. So, the tragedy of this song is that Shintaro cannot fully embrace either reality or fantasy. Reality hurts him too much because of grief, guilt, and loneliness, but the artificial comfort Ene offers also feels hollow to him. That is why the song constantly feels emotionally conflicted. Ultimately, Jinso Enemy portrays Shintaro as a deeply broken individual struggling with grief, loneliness, and emotional paralysis. He isolates himself not because he hates people, but because he fears pain and vulnerability. Throughout the song, Ene continuously tries to reach out to him, yet Shintaro cannot fully accept her because doing so will require him to confront emotions he has spent so long suppressing. But what exactly led Shintaro into this emotionally hollow state? What caused him so much trauma that he wasn't able to form any new connections? Well, it all started with Shintaro's tendency to reject reality. It all started with his eyes seeing something that he isn't comfortable with. It started with the answer he refused to see. It started with a song about averting your eyes. Tomei Answer or Transparent Answer, released together with the Mekakushi Days album on May 20, 2012, is technically Shintaro's first song within the series, and it is actually my second favorite Kagura project song. The song tells the story of Shintaro's middle school days before he became a Shut-in. But even if that's the case, he was still a very isolated guy, not really trying to make any connections and seeing the world as boring or dull. Until he meets a girl named Ayano Takeyama, and the song begins to tell the story of their relationship. It explores themes of emotional blindness, guilt, and the inability to truly understand another person until it is too late. The lyrics show that intelligence and achievement have become meaningless routines for Shintaro. He can solve problems perfectly, but only problems with predetermined answers. Emotionally, however, he is completely lost. Shintaro excels at understanding logic and systems, yet he fails to understand people, especially Ayano. One of the most heartbreaking aspects of the song is that Shintaro notices signs of Ayano's suffering but never fully understands her. The lyric, quietly reveals Ayano's pain before her death becomes explicit. Yet, because the song is told from Shintaro's perspective, the line also exposes Shintaro's emotional blindness. He senses something fragile within Ayano, but he cannot interpret it correctly. Throughout the song, Shintaro constantly searches for answers, yet the one answer directly in front of him, Ayano's pain, remains invisible to him. The motif of answers is extremely important for this song. Shintaro believes that every problem should have a logical solution, just like a test question. Lines like, feel tragic in retrospect. Shintaro assumes that understanding can always come later, that there will always be time to piece things together. But before he can do that, Ayano dies before he truly understands her. The empty seat beside becomes one of the song's most devastating symbols. Earlier in the song, Ayano's seat represents warmth and interruption within Shintaro's cold and repetitive life. But after her death, the same seat becomes evidence of absence. The line, windows symbolize emotional distance and passive observation. Shintaro watches life rather than participate in it. But once Ayano disappears, he is forced to look back at the empty space Ayano left behind. The song's final verses completely recontextualizes everything that came before. When Shintaro says, he realizes the full extent of his failure to connect with her emotionally. This moment becomes the emotional foundation for the isolated version of Shintaro we see in Jinso Enemy. Ayano's death destroys his already fragile connection to reality and reinforces his fear that he can never truly understand or protect other people. Ayano's smile, kindness, and cheerfulness conceal deep emotional suffering that he failed to recognize until it was irreversible and becomes his biggest regret. This is why Tomei Answer and Jinso Enemy connect so naturally. Ayano's death becomes the emotional wound that shapes his later apathy, detachment, and retreat into his own regret. The question is, where does Shintaro go from here? Is he fated to drown in his regrets over and over? Maybe, but somewhere deep in his memories, lost within the passage of time, is a world where he meets the people who will push him to become someone better, someone with a future, someone who can learn to accept. This is Shintaro's story of repeating regret. Lost Time Memory. Released on March 30, 2013, is Shintaro's story at its peak. It is the moment where he finally confronts those emotions directly. Although the song still represents Shintaro's struggle to accept loss and move beyond emotional paralysis, he finally begins facing reality rather than running from it. Even from the beginning of the song, Shintaro appears trapped within his memory itself. The opening lyrics immediately establish that time has failed to heal him. Rather than fading naturally, his memories of Ayano continue to intensify over the years. Ayano's shadows represents the emotional wound left behind by her death, one that Shintaro continues to carry no matter how much time passes. The heat haze during the confrontation remains with him, and there is warmth within every memory connected to Ayano. The recurring summer imagery, including the scorching sun and the blazing sun, reinforces this feeling. Summer in Lost Time memory becomes the atmosphere where Shintaro's regrets continue to live. Unlike the isolated Shintaro we see in Jinso Enemy, the Shintaro in Lost Time memory is still capable of moving forward. He is able to go outside and merely indulge himself in life, wearing the red jacket that symbolizes the warmth and emotional connection that he felt with Ayano. More importantly, he meets the Mekakushi Dan, and slowly begins forming genuine connections with others, even while remembering the blurry silhouettes of the past. Shintaro is no longer completely detached from reality, and this is one of the most important distinctions within the song. It shows that even if he begins living within the reality of his future, the past still remains deeply embedded within him. His friend's memories does not disappear simply because he continues living, as seen with his continued friendship with Ene and Konoha. However, the song eventually shifts toward another version of Shintaro, the Shintaro we see in Jinso Enemy, or what the fandom calls Root XX. This section acts almost like a mirror to Jinso Enemy, except instead of being sung from Ene's perspective, it is now told through Shintaro's own emotions. The contrast between these two roots is visually and emotionally significant. In Root XX, there are almost no warm colors left within Shintaro's life. The warmth that once existed now survives only within the memories of Ayano. Reality itself has become cold, empty, and emotionally unbearable. The climax of the song comes in the form of both Shintaros facing situations where they are forced to confront death itself. The first Shintaro dies while saving his friends, while Root XX Shintaro dies trying to save himself. This difference is extremely important because it reveals how much Shintaro has changed emotionally. The Shintaro connected to the Mekakushi Dan is willing to sacrifice himself for others because he has finally learned how to connect with people again. Meanwhile, Root XX Shintaro remains consumed by his own despair and isolation. Meanwhile, Root XX Shintaro remains consumed by his own despair and isolation. One of the most interesting details in the music video is that Root XX Shintaro's unaliving is shown using warm colors rather than cold ones. Visually, it almost feels as if death has become the only way for him to preserve the warmth of the past. By ending his life, he chooses to remain emotionally trapped within the memories of Ayano forever, rather than continue living within a reality where she no longer exists. In contrast, the other Shintaro carries Ayano's memory forward, while still continuing to live. This creates one of the central themes in Lost Time memory, the difference between preserving memories and becoming imprisoned by them. Both Shintaros are eventually brought into the Kagura days, where Asami watches the despair of Root XX Shintaro. This moment is especially important because Asami sees herself within him. Just like Shintaro, Asami is someone who became consumed by grief and pain to the point where she could no longer move forward. Both characters isolated themselves emotionally because reality became too painful to confront. However, the crucial difference between them is revealed when the other Shintaro walks past Asami. This moment shocks her because he accomplishes something she herself could never do: confront the painful reality of his story instead of remaining trapped within it. The moment represents the true meaning of Lost Time memory. The song is not about Shintaro drowning endlessly within regret. It is about his decision to finally stand up and continue moving forward despite that regret. Ayano's memory never disappears, and neither does the pain connected to her loss. What makes this moment especially powerful is that Ayano's smile doesn't ever change. Throughout the song, Ayano exists almost entirely through memory. Her warmth, smile, and kindness remain untouched by time, contrasting with how much Shintaro himself has changed emotionally. Earlier in the song, these memories trap him, but here, her unchanging smile no longer feels like something chaining him to the past. Instead, it becomes the thing that finally allows him to move forward. Ayano's memory stops being merely a source of regret and becomes something that he can carry with him. Root XX Shintaro's line, clearly calls back to the beginning of the song with Ayano calling out to him and Shintaro pushing her away. Now the roles are reversed. This reversal also symbolizes Shintaro finally understanding the emotional weight of Ayano's presence in his life. At the beginning, he could not recognize what she meant to him. Now, he was finally able to find the transparent answer to it all. The final line, silhouettes often symbolize fragmented memories, lost possibilities, or disconnected identities. Earlier in the song, the silhouettes represent his friends, the blurry memories and emotional distance. But here, they become witnesses to Shintaro's transformation. They are watching a version of him that finally chooses honesty over emotional avoidance. This is why Lost Time Memory is not ultimately a song about despair. It is a song about confronting grief honestly enough to finally move forward. Shintaro does not overcome the death of his friends, nor does he stop regretting it. Instead, he learns to accept that loving someone also means carrying the pain of losing them. The song's climax is not his suffering. It is his decision to stop hiding from that suffering, making Lost Time Memory as one of the best songs in the series in terms of storytelling. Now that the climax of Shintaro's character in the song has concluded, the memories of his life comes back one by one, as he once again reflects on the person he used to be and how he was able to change. The manga starts by showing us exactly what Shintaro's Shut-in life looks like. He spends most of his time in his room, glued to his computer, working on music and convincing himself that he's about to become the next big Vocaloid producer once his new track drops. I say Vocaloid producer in quotes because it was never actually confirmed that he was using Vocaloid to produce music. But before he can even enjoy that fantasy, NS shows up and immediately turns his peaceful day into chaos.
Dude, no way! My PC froze, are you kidding me? I'm so dead if I can't use my PC. Dead. Huh? Oh, thank God it's back on. She's not around either, which makes me nervous. But I've got no complaints about her not being around. Good riddance. This song is gonna explode! This masterpiece of original music I composed using this program is gonna hit the #1 on all the video sites, then on to ringtone sales, then my big album debut. What? Shut up!
Shintaro! I've told you 1,000 times, you are annoying our neighbors. Shut up in your room all day and all night. Have you gone crazy?
Mom, that wasn't me, it was a...
Who the hell else could it have been?
It's unfair. If only she weren't around. This is all her fault.
Hey, how you feeling, Master?
Like my guts are about to explode, NA.
This introduction immediately tells us what kind of person Shintaro is. He is a complete shut-in and his computer is basically the center of his entire world. The second his PC freezes, he reacts like his life is over. But at the same time, the manga doesn't present him as someone who is simply lazy or doing nothing. His dreams are exaggerated, sure, but he still has something that he wants to create. His room and his computer have become his comfort zone, and N's role is to constantly disrupt that comfort.
Hey, stop screwing around. Hey! If she presses on that, I'll switch the track I've been working on. My song! No! Tissue now! No. The only keys that work are R-O-T. Alright, come on, Shintaro. At least save one life. I beg you, don't die on me!
The same thing that she does in the Project 8.15 Discord server. So if you want to experience being terrorized by Ene, then you should definitely go join our Discord server. It's fun, we have many members, we have many fun members to talk to, and we have Ene there to terrorize new members. So please consider joining us. Okay, back to the actual analysis. So one funny detail here is that the only keys left working are ROT. Almost like Shintaro's own computer is calling him out for rotting away in his room. At this point, he spends nearly all his time locked inside, barely interacts with the outside world, and treats his PC like it's the one thing holding his life together. With his keyboard broken, Shintaro tries to order a new one online, only to realize deliveries will be delayed because of the Obon holiday. That means he would have to wait 2 whole days without a keyboard, which is obviously impossible for him. So, on August 14, Shintaro Kisaragi makes the decision that changes his summer completely. He finally goes outside to buy a new keyboard. While walking through the neighborhood, we learn that this is the first time Shintaro has gone outside in 2 years. He notices that the area around him feels different, which makes sense because the world has continued moving while he stayed frozen in his room. Eventually, he and Ene arrived at the mall, where Ene spots an amusement park on the rooftop. The two argue about it, and then Ene shuts herself off, leaving Shintaro to wander the mall alone in search of a keyboard. And on the way, Shintaro accidentally bumps into someone who is later revealed to be Tsubomi Kido. At first, he mistakes Kido for a guy, but before he can properly apologize, Kido suddenly disappears. Ene eventually comes back and Shintaro apologizes to her, promising that he'll bring her to the amusement park. For a moment, things seem like they're finally calming down. Then suddenly, a bomb explodes, ending the first chapter of the manga. A group of terrorists raid the mall, and Shintaro gets caught in the chaos. One side of his earphone gets cut off and he ends up becoming one of the hostages. This is where he meets a strange guy, later revealed to be Shuya Kano. Shintaro starts talking to him and their conversation leads to the reveal that Shintaro actually has a plan to stop the terrorists. This moment really shows Shintaro's intelligence. Even though he acts like a loser in the present, he clearly still has the brain of someone who used to ace tests without even trying. It makes sense that he can quickly observe the situation, read the terrorists' movements, and come up with a plan. But then the terrorists announce that the bombs have been placed throughout the city, and that is what causes something inside Shintaro to snap. Shintaro loses his temper at Kano for staying so calm, which draws the attention of the terrorists toward him. But in the middle of the chaos, he finds an opening and actually manages to pull off his plan. And I like how this scene highlights that Shintaro genuinely cares about his family. Even if he usually hides it behind sarcasm and laziness, his plan works for a while until it looks like he gets shot, while in reality he was only grazed and he apparently passed out from fear. Shintaro wakes up in an unfamiliar room with a girl taking care of him. Then he hears Enne's voice as the door opens and several other people enter, including his sister, Momo Kisaragi, who is also holding the phone Enne is now inside of. He also realizes that the person he bumped into the mall is there too, and that Kido is actually a girl. The cat-eyed guy from earlier is also present, along with a green-hooded boy named Kosuke Aseto. One by one, they introduce themselves, including the girl taking care of him, Mari Kosakura. Together, they reveal that they are the Mekakushi Dan, and since they have already exposed their secret to Shintaro, he has basically no choice but to join them. Shintaro's first mission with the Mekakushi Dan is going to the amusement park as part of his promise to Enne. And on the way there, the Kisaragi siblings argue like usual while Seto, who is carrying Mari, tries to calm them down. And when they finally arrive, Mari suggests riding the roller coaster first. Shintaro immediately tries to back out, but Momo cuts him off, and he gets forced into riding it anyway. After the ride, Shintaro throws up and gets comforted by Seto and Kano, though it doesn't help much since the conversation somehow turns back to Enne. Shintaro then tries to wander off on his own, but his freedom does not last long. Mari calls him over to join her in an ice house sort of thing, which also goes badly after he gets soaked by her tumbler. Later, Kido asks him to come with her because she is too scared to enter the haunted house alone while looking for Momo. And after a few more hijinks, Shintaro finally gets a moment alone until Ene shows up once again.
Master, you're really good at shooter, right?
Huh? How'd you even know that? We didn't even play a shooter together before.
Oh, really? I guess it doesn't matter then. Remember, Master, I know everything about you. But just forget what I said. Come on!
Just now, I thought about recalling my past. But oh well. I'm too busy dealing with this girl Seagull right now. Alright, let's go. You're the boss, Ene. Just promise me you won't cause a huge scene, okay?
You got it!
She's suddenly self-censored, wicked to the core, and impossible to get a grasp of. Hey, Ene, I know I asked this before, but seriously, where'd you come from?
Well, Master, unfortunately for you, that's my little secret. Haruka.
The story then shifts into Ene's past, back when she was still Takane Enomoto. While this part mainly focuses on Ene's backstory, it also explains why she seems to know so much about Shintaro. During their school festival, Takane and her classmate Haruka Kokonose and their teacher Kenjiro Tateyama run a shooter game booth. Takane is revealed to be a high-level player who once placed second in a global competition. A crowd of fans gather around her, but one boy is completely unimpressed, and that boy is Shintaro Kisaragi, who challenges Takane directly. This scene shows just how much of a bitch Shintaro used to be. In the past, he was much more arrogant, blunt, and honestly kind of a jerk, compared to the Shintaro we see in the present. It also explains why Ene calls him master. At the same time, we briefly see him together with Ayano Tateyama, whose importance to Shintaro's life is revealed later. And this is the only scene in En's past where Shintaro appears. The next time we see him in the manga, he is walking home with Dan when someone suddenly appears in front of them. The stranger reminds Shintaro of his past, and then one by one, the people around him are killed. As Shintaro tries to process what is happening and protect his sister, the stranger's face triggers memories in his mind, and the scene shifts to a hazy day inside his classroom.
I got something wrong?
You got nothing right. Are you even capable of learning anything?
Oh, I really thought I was right though. Maybe you're just a bad teacher, Shintaro.
Yeah, you wish. The problem here is your brain, Ayano.
You think so? Maybe it's my fault after all. Say, Shintaro,
What?
do you think heaven really exists?
Of course it doesn't exist. It's just people believing what they think is good. And besides, if it did exist, science would have already proven it.
Oh, really? Well, I think it does exist. Not that I think it's a paradise for good people live. I mean, think about it. What kind of paradise requires you to leave someone behind to reach it?
Look, what are you even talking about?
Oh, am I being weird? Sorry about that. How about we get back to tutoring? I'll give questions, you give answers.
August 15th,
Correct?
2211.
Right again.
Hey, wait. Why am I answering these? You should be the one learning this stuff. I already know it anyway.
Oh, you're right then, I guess. So, okay. How about I ask Shintaro something he still needs an answer to? Tell me, Shintaro. Why do you think I died?
Ayano Tateyama was Shintaro's classmate, and she was someone deeply important to him. She changed his life, as shown in Tomoe's answer, but Shintaro never understood the reason behind her death. He never found the answer to why Ayano died, and this moment begins the events of the first route in the series. The timeline where everything started, and the world where Ayano and Shintaro made their promise. Shintaro then wakes up from the heat, almost as if he had just been dreaming. Welcome to Manga Route 2. So, just like in the other route, Shintaro starts his day working on music until Annie appears and causes chaos again. This time, however, the soda does not spill on his keyboard. Instead, it spills on the rabbit food for his pet rabbit, Tono. The commotion causes Momo to barge into his room. After failing to convince Momo to buy the rabbit food for him, Shintaro is forced to leave the house, breaking his shut-in streak again in this room. On the way, Shintaro and Momo run into two kids named Hiyori Asahina and Hibiya Amamiya. Hiyori is a huge fan of Momo and Shintaro teases her about it. Eventually, they all go to the mall together to buy what they need before parting ways. Later, Momo receives a call from Hiyori, and it becomes clear that the two kids are in serious trouble. The siblings decide to search for them. While looking around the city, Shintaro runs into a vending machine and tries to buy a soda. But things go badly, leading to Kido finding him hugging the machine. Since they have not met in this route yet, Kido simply buys him a soda, and it turns out that Kido is also searching for Hibiya and Hiyori. So the two begin talking about the situation. After some time, Kido learns that Hibiya escaped from Kano and Konoha, so she parts ways with Shintaro. Soon after, Shintaro hears something rushing toward him and gets knocked out by Momo, who is running with Hibiya, who is also knocked out. The siblings bring Hibiya home to ask him what happened, and Shintaro tries to comfort both of them. The next day, he brings Hibiya to the police station. As they leave, the siblings encounter Kano, who apparently already knows Momo. Shintaro immediately steps in to protect his sister. After this encounter, Shintaro and Momo continue searching for Hiyori. While looking around, Shintaro runs into Hibiya again, after Hibiya left the station earlier. He also sees a girl with him. Of course, Shintaro does not know that this girl is the Ayano Takayama of this route. And unlike the Ayano from his memories and the other routes, she is still alive. The three of them go to a cafe to discuss the situation. Ayano tries to tell Shintaro that he should stay out of it because he does not have an eye ability, but Shintaro argues that even if he does not have a power, his sister does, which means he still has a reason to get involved. After Ayano explains the story of the snakes, the three continue walking around the city searching for Hiyori. Eventually, they run into familiar faces again: Ene, Kano, and an unconscious Momo. Kano reveals that Ayano is actually his sister and explains that in order to find Hiyori, they need Hibiya to use his power. Hibiya agrees to go with Kano, leaving Ayano and Shintaro behind with Momo. Ayano lets the sibling rest at her home and tells Shintaro about her past. She explains that she once had a family, including her three step-siblings, Kido, Kano, and Seto, as well as marrying. This creates a connection between Ayano and Shintaro because both of them know what it means to protect their siblings. Ayano also explains that their family broke apart because of an accident that gave her powers and caused her to try to kill Mari. Later, Momo wakes up and sneaks out of the house, with Shintaro following after her. Eventually, Shintaro ends up inside an abandoned building. There, he finds Momo's phone and realizes that it is still connected to a call. Oh, and I forgot to mention, but when Kano met Ayano and Shintaro, Kano also revealed that Kido died because of apparently Hiyori being possessed by the main antagonist of the series called the Snake of Clearing Eyes. But after this, Shintaro sees Momo falling from the building, and it is revealed that Hibiya has been possessed by the Clearing Eyes, not Hiyori. The Clearing Eyes mocks Shintaro for failing to protect his sister, but Ayano appears and tries to stop it. Konoha and Hiyori also arrive, but the Clearing Eyes uses Hibiya's body against them, escaping Konoha and jumping from the building. Konoha jumps after Hibiya and manages to save him. Hibiya then runs into the street and lets himself get hit by a truck. As Konoha chases after him, an explosion follows, and the Clearing Eyes takes over Konoha's body. Before all of this, the manga shows another flashback, this time focusing on the past of Haruka Kokonose, the previous owner of Konoha's body, or I should say the original owner of Konoha's current body. In the other route, Haruka was Takane's classmate, but in this timeline, they were friends who met at the hospital. After Takane is discharged, Shintaro enters Haruka's story. Over time, Haruka and Shintaro grew close. They played video games, drank soda, and eventually talk about school, something Haruka cannot experience because of his illness. This leads to a conversation that changes Shintaro's mindset. This is the moment that gives Shintaro the motivation to try again. After spending more time with Haruka, Shintaro is eventually discharged from the hospital. He begins preparing to return to school, and before doing so, he decides to visit Haruka one more time, to tell him the news. But when he arrives, he finds out that the very person who inspired him to move forward is no longer in this world. And this is what causes Shintaro to become a shut-in this route. Around this time, just like in the other routes, Shintaro meets Ene. She is the only person who shares a connection with Haruka, even though Shintaro does not know that yet, but instead of introducing herself as his servant, she introduces herself as something much more personal, his friend. After the flashbacks, the story returns to the present where the clearing ice has taken over Kono's body and escapes to continue its plan. Meanwhile, Ayano and Hiyori return to the Mekakushi Dan while Shintaro locks himself in his room. Filled with rage with Enno's help, he searches through every street camera he can access trying to find the clearing ice. And during this, we get another flashback, this time to Shintaro and Momo's childhood. Momo reveals that Shintaro was always the talented one, the one who was good at everything, especially in school, and because of that, she decides to learn how to swim so she can have something of her own. However, neither of them knew that this would lead to Momo gaining her powers. After being swallowed by the Kagure days, Momo is the only one who returns alive, while their father is fully consumed by the days. And from that moment on, Shintaro makes a promise to protect her. Back in the present, Ene tries to stop Shintaro from chasing Sayero alone, and in this route, she finally tells him the truth about herself and brings him to the hospital, revealing that she knew Haruka. Shintaro finds Ene's real body there, and Ene explains how she ended up inside his computer. What follows is a painful but beautiful goodbye between Shintaro and Ene as her time begins to run out.
It's fine. I'm not looking for your pity. I did this to myself. On the day Haruka died, I didn't know anything about him. I realized I didn't pick up on a single thing about him. It made my mind blank out. I think I really liked him. But I decided I couldn't tell him. So instead I ended up avoiding him. Seeing you get along with Haruka, it was like I wasn't needed anymore. So, to the very end, I kept running from all the hard stuff. And this is the result. I really am an idiot. But God has some funny ideas, doesn't he? I thought I threw my future away. But he handed it right back to me for laughs. Running into you, Master, doing all this crazy stuff, getting to know your sister, making her my first girl best friend. It seemed almost impossible we could be having those days together. To the point, I felt almost unworthy of it. I think, right to the very end, Haruka wanted to keep on living alongside his friend. I threw everything away, but there I was, living what he could only hope for. You can't get more unfair than that. That's why I was by your side. Taking his place, I felt like I had to become your friend instead. But, I mean, I don't deserve this. Becoming friends with you, I feel like that really saved me. So, I think I can safely say my wish was granted long ago. I was able to find some real meaning in a life spent constantly running away. But I couldn't have done that without you. So much so, you can be so much salvation. And I think there's still people who only you can rescue. So...
Me too. I was saved by you as well. I'm so glad that I met you.
What an honor. It's been a lot of fun. To me, you're the greatest master I could ever have.
And after this, Shintaro realizes that he should not face everything alone. And he goes to the Mekakushi Dan hideout where he is greeted by none other than Ayano herself. After this, the Mekakushi Dan and Shintaro come up with a plan to stop Saeru from causing more destruction. Considering how little information they have and how badly everything keeps going, Shintaro honestly does the best he can for a while. The plan actually works and they manage to corner Saeru, but they completely underestimate one thing. Saeru is not someone they can defeat through a normal plan. Everything begins falling apart, Kano sacrifices himself so the others can escape, and before leaving, he asks Shintaro to watch over the gang. Eventually, they form a new plan. Use the Kagura days to trap Saeru inside it. Mari manages to access the days, but it is already too late. Seto is killed right in front of her, and even though Mari traps Saeru, Saeru already knows that it has won. With no other choice left, Ayano tells Mari to reset the world again. But before that happens, Ayano asks Mari to turn her into a snake and give her to Shintaro. This becomes the snake of retaining eyes, created so that Shintaro will never forget this tragedy, and so that one day they could finally get past this endless summer. Shintaro's story in the manga ends as he returns to the days with Ayano, who is revealed not to be his classmate, but the snake of retaining eyes, showing him the memories of the first route. Sadly, in this route, Shintaro cannot remember everything in time, but maybe in another route he can. As the world resets, Shintaro forgets everything once again, but the snake of retaining eyes remains with him, carrying the hope that someday he will remember. Someday he will remember his promise, and someday he will finally answer the question that has followed him all this time. Why did she die? So in the manga, Shintaro's story ends with failure. He tries to help, he tries to protect Momo, he tries to stand with Ayano. He even becomes part of the Mekakushi Dan by his own choice. But in the end, the route still collapses. Everyone loses, the world resets, and Shintaro forgets everything again. The only thing left behind is a snake of retaining eyes, created so that one day Shintaro could remember this tragedy and finally move past this summer. And that is why the novels are so important to Shintaro's character. Because while the manga shows us Shintaro failing to reach that answer, The novels show us the process of him slowly becoming someone who can actually face it. The novels begin with the same basic image of Shintaro that the manga introduced. A shut-in who treats his room and computer like his entire world. In the manga, this was shown through comedy, with him panicking over his PC, yelling at Ene, and acting like his life is over the moment something goes wrong. But in the novels, the same setup feels a little more personal, because we are inside Shintaro's head. We hear how he thinks, how much he avoids the outside, and how much he has convinced himself that staying inside is normal. So when he is forced to leave his room again, it connects directly to what the manga already established. Shintaro does not live because he suddenly wants to change. He lives because something pushes him out. In the manga, it was the broken keyboard, and in the novels, it's just the same. Ene breaks into his life, his normal routine collapses, and the outside world forces him to move. That is one of the biggest things about Shintaro. He almost never takes the first step on his own. Well, at least not at first. He has to be dragged out. But once he is outside, we start seeing the same contradiction the manga showed us. Shintaro acts pathetic, complains constantly, and looks like someone who can barely function in public. But when something serious happens, his intelligence and protective instincts come out. During the mall incident in the manga, he claims that if he gets 30 seconds with his hands free, he can make the terrorists' eyes roll in their sockets, and even says that his plan has a 100% chance of working. That moment already showed that underneath the shut-in behavior, Shintaro is somewhat smart. I mean, genuinely smart. And this moment is important because it shows that Shintaro was never useless. He was scared but not heartless. He was a shut-in but not empty. He was someone who wanted to run away, but when his family and other people were in danger, he still moved. And that becomes one of the main ideas of his novel arc. Shintaro is not a character who suddenly becomes smart or suddenly becomes caring. He was always smart. He was always caring. So after the mall incident, Shintaro gets pulled into the Mekakushi Dan, and this is where the novel route starts to expand on something that the manga already showed. In the manga, joining the Dan gave Shintaro a place to belong, and in the novels, we actually see him slowly start living inside that place. At first, he does not fully trust them, and honestly, from his point of view, it makes sense. He just got taken hostage, almost got shot, woke up surrounded by people with supernatural abilities, and was basically told that he now knows too much to live. In Volume 2, when the Dan goes to the amusement park, it feels like a lighter section at first. Shintaro argues with Momo, gets dragged around by the other members of the Dan, and complains about everything. But character-wise, this section matters because it turns the Mekakushi Dan from the people involved in the mall incident into an actual group of people. And Shintaro, even while pretending he does not want to be there, is slowly being included. This is why the amusement park section matters for him. It is not just about comedy, it is Shintaro being pulled back into normal human connection. The same person who stayed inside for 2 years in his own room is now spending a whole day with people who barely let him isolate himself. He is still awkward, still rude, and still constantly complaining, but he is there. On the surface, Shintaro and Momo's relationship is mostly comedic. They insult each other, argue over small things, and act like they cannot go 5 minutes without fighting. But underneath that, Shintaro is constantly paying attention to her. The novels make this clearer than the manga. That is why, the Volume 3 scene with Kano disguised as Momo gives us this really cool detail. Kano tries to trick Shintaro by appearing as Momo, but Shintaro figures it out because the disguise gets one detail wrong. Momo calls him Shintaro, not Big Bro. And this is such a good Shintaro moment because it shows both sides of him at once, but it also shows his bond with Momo. He acts like he does not care, but he knows his sister. He knows the way she talks to him, and he knows what feels real and what feels fake. That's one of the biggest thing about Shintaro. He notices things, he notices details, he understands patterns, and that is exactly why Ayano's death hurt him so badly. Because if Shintaro is so smart, if he is so good at noticing things, then why did he not notice what was happening to Ayano? This is where the novels connect directly back to the manga's Ayano question. In Volume 3, again, Shintaro dreams of Ayano, but it is not a comforting dream. It is a confrontation with everything he has been trying to bury. Ayano asks him if he remembers her, and Shintaro breaks down because he cannot give her the answer she deserves. And to add salt to the wound, Kano himself turns into Ayano, making Shintaro's trauma even more evident as he starts apologizing over and over. And this is the real Shintaro underneath the sarcasm, not the shut-in yelling at Ene, or the arrogant genius insulting people. Every time he starts to feel like he belongs somewhere, his guilt reminds him of the person he failed to understand. and Volume 4 makes that even clearer. Shintaro starts realizing that Ayano has been appearing in his dreams more often recently, and the timing matters. It happens when the Mekakushi Dan starts becoming important to him. It happened before with Eni too. Whenever someone starts entering his life, Ayano returns in his mind. That means Ayano is not just a memory. She is the part of Shintaro that is afraid to care again, because caring means risking loss. And Shintaro already know what loss feels like, but what makes Volume 4 important is that Shintaro does not fully run away this time. He starts thinking that the past few days feel like some kind of special curriculum meant to turn him back into a decent human being. And even though he knows it will not let him atone for the past, he still thinks that if there is something he can do now, he has to try. Then Volume 5 deepens the guilt even more through Kano's side of the story. This is not mainly Shintaro's volume, but the scene with Kano disguised as Ayano is extremely important to Shintaro's character. So, after Ayano's death, Kano runs into Shintaro while still appearing as Ayano. And in that painful state, Kano throws the blame at him. It is not just that Ayano died, it is that Shintaro feels like he should have noticed. He was a genius. He was the one who could understand the problems faster than anyone. He could ace tests without efforts. He could read situations like the mall incident and come up with a plan. But when it came to Ayano, the person who actually needed him, he did not see what was happening. And that is why Ayano's question hurt so much. Why did she die? Because for Shintaro, the answer always comes back to the same fear. Maybe because I did not notice. Maybe because I did not help. Maybe because I failed her. Then Volume 6 adds another layer to Shintaro's relationship with Haruka once again. This is important because Ayano was not the only person Shintaro lost. Haruka's story shows that Shintaro was not always completely isolated. He was rude, sarcastic, and difficult even in the past, but he was still capable of friendship, like what I stated earlier. Through Haruka's perspective, we see Shintaro hanging out, playing games, helping Momo, talking with Ayano and Takane, and existing as a part of a small circle. So, by this point of the story in the novels, Konoha has been taken over by Saeru, and when Shintaro finally comes face to face with Konoha possessed by the snake, he is killed and sent into the Kagura days, and his arc becomes more internal. Now Shintaro is no longer just dealing with the outside world, he is dealing with memory. He is dealing with the people he lost, he is dealing with the truth behind the routes. And he is dealing with the question of whether all this pain actually meant something. That is why Haruka's role becomes even more important after Shintaro enters the days. Haruka is not just a part of Shintaro's past anymore. He becomes someone Shintaro has to face inside the space where memories, regrets, and unfinished wishes gather. Haruka eventually tells Shintaro that Konoha needs to be stopped. This matters because Konoha becomes another person who pulls Shintaro into the group's problems. At first, Shintaro is still acting like the exhausted outsider who got dragged into everything, but Konoha's straightforwardness makes it harder for him to stay detached. Shintaro's reaction matters because he feels helpless. He wonders what he could possibly do when he could not save anyone before. The feeling connects directly to the manga route too. In the manga, Shintaro tries to save everyone and fails. In the novels, he is still carrying that same fear. He is still asking himself what someone like him can actually do. As the fight against Saeru continues and the others are still struggling outside, Shintaro's side of the story has shifted into the days where he starts confronting the people and memories connected to the tragedy. His intelligence still matters, but now it is not just tactical intelligence, but emotional intelligence as well. Inside the days, Shintaro finally gets to talk to Ayano once again. Not just a dream, not just a memory, but directly, in a place where all failed routes and buried feelings begin to matter. He is angry at her for carrying everything alone. He is frustrated that she tried to protect everyone by sacrificing herself. But at the same time, he understands her, because Shintaro and Ayano are actually very similar if you think about it. He cannot accept the compliment normally, so he pushes it away with attitude. But underneath that, he is admitting something important. He sees himself in Ayano. He understands her loneliness because it reflects his own. Then Ayano points out how surprising it is that Shintaro is fighting alongside everyone, and Shintaro answers in the most Shintaro way possible. It sounds dismissive, but that is exactly how Shintaro is. He still hides sincerity behind sarcasm. He still cannot give a clean, emotional answer. But by this point, the meaning is obvious. Ayano mattered, Haruka mattered, Takane mattered, Momo mattered, and the Mekakushi Dan mattered. All of them mattered enough that Shintaro kept moving, even after spending years trying not to care about anything. Because every failed summer, every reset, every tragedy, every bond, and every promise becomes part of the path toward the one route where they can finally move forward. The manga asks, will Shinta remember? And the novel's answer, yes. But more than that, they show why remembering matters. But because once Shinta remembers everything at the right time, even death, failure, and reset can become part of the road toward saving everyone. So if the manga route asks, will Shintaro remember? And the novel's answer, yes, because remembering is what gives meaning to those failed summers. Then, the anime route finally shows what happens when Shintaro reaches the route where those memories can actually change the ending. The anime route is not the version where Shintaro is constantly leading the plan from the beginning, and that is important to clarify. The anime shows Shintaro slowly being fooled out of avoidance, episode by episode, until he finally becomes the person who can remember the repeated tragedies and move toward the final route, the final ending. This is why his anime arc needs to be followed through the actual events of each episode. In Act 1, Jinso Enemy, Shintaro begins exactly where his character should begin, trapped inside his room for 2 years. Just like in any other route. The same incident happens and they go to the mall. And is where the anime reminds us that even though Shintaro looks pathetic on the surface, he is not stupid. When Seto and Kano approach him and ask if he has a plan, Shintaro says he can succeed if someone creates a good enough distraction. He then uses Ene by plugging her into the security system, allowing her to regain control of it while the Mekakushi Dan creates an opening. This matters because Act 1 shows the contradiction at the center of Shintaro. He acts like he does not care about the outside world, but when people are in danger, he still thinks and acts. He is not a heroic person yet, but the ability to move is still there. His growth begins with him being forced outside, and just at the end of the episode, we see him together with the snake of retaining eyes. In Act 2, Kisaragi attention, Shintaro is not the main focus, but the episode still matters to his character because it shapes to Momo. Momo is Shintaro's opposite. Shintaro suffers because he hides from the world, while Momo suffers because the world will not stop looking at her. She cannot control the attention her ability creates, and this eventually leads her in contact with Kido, which automatically connects Shintaro to the other members of the Mekakushi Dan as well. In Act 3, Mekakushi Code, the anime reveals what was happening from the Mekakushi Dan side during the department store incident. Momo is brought to the Dan's hideout, meets Kido, Seto, and Kano and Mari, and eventually agrees to join them. Later, the group goes to the department store to replace Momo's phone, where they notice Shintaro during the terrorist situation. This episode matters for Shintaro because it reframes Act 1. In the first episode, Shintaro looked like the one making the plan with Ene, but Act 3 shows that the Dan also had their own side during the operation. So Shintaro is important, but he is not the only person making things happen. That becomes one of the anime route's main ideas. Shintaro cannot solve the story alone. His intelligence matters, but it only works because the others move with him. There is already a correction to the kind of isolated genius he used to be. In Act 4, Kagura Days, Shintaro does not have a direct role, and the episode focuses more on Hibiya, Hiyori, and Konoha, so we will be skipping this episode. In Act 5, Time Panzer Mask, Shintaro wakes up in the Mekakushi Dan's hideout after the department store incident. This is the first time he is properly placed inside the dance world instead of just encountering them by accident. And we also see naked Shintaro. He wakes up confused, embarrassed, and irritated, and then learns that he and Ene have basically been made members of the Mekakushi Dan. And again, naked Shintaro. This is important because Shintaro's world has expanded whether he likes it or not. In Act 1, his entire life was his room. By Act 5, he is inside a group of people with supernatural powers, imagining naked Shintaro. and his sister is already part of them. Later in that episode, the Nan goes to visit the grave of their founder and former commander, who died 2 years earlier. Shintaro does not go with them, instead he storms off and ends up meeting Konoha, who is searching for Hibiya and Hiyori. Shintaro gets pulled into helping Konoha, and this is another important step for him. He is still not actively choosing the whole truth, but he keeps getting dragged into situations where he has to care. Then, Konoha rushes to save Hibiya and Hiyori when they are being taken away, and Shintaro gets caught near the traffic incident. And before we go on to the next episode, naked Shintaro. In Act 6, headphone actor, Shintaro is not the main focus, but he appears in Takane and Haruka's past during the school festival. He beats Takane at the game she was proud of, which helps establish the old Shintaro as arrogant, blunt, and difficult. He is brilliant but socially terrible. He does not know how to speak gently, and he clearly leaves an impression on Takane. He was connected to Ayano, Takane, and Haruka. Even if he was rude, he was not isolated yet. He existed inside a small network of people who would later become central to the tragedy. This also changes how we see Ene. In the present, Ene is Shintaro's annoying cyber companion, but Act 6 reveals that Ene was Takane, someone from Shintaro's past. And in Act 7, Konoha's State of the World, Shintaro's direct present-day role is still limited, but the episode gives more information that matters to him. Ene explains her situation. Kano reveals that what happened to her is similar to what happened to the other Mekakushi Dan members. And Ene learns that Haruka also died alongside Ayano. The episode also reveals that Haruka's desire for a stronger body led to Konoha. For Shintaro, this matters because the anime is slowly restoring the meaning of the people he lost. Ayano was not the only person connected to his regret. Takane and Haruka were also a part of his whole world. Their disappearance was not random, they were pulled into the same larger tragedy. And in Act 8, Lost Time Memory, Shintaro becomes important. Shintaro's main role in the anime becomes even more clearer. After the traffic incident, Momo, Kido, and Mari catch up with him at the hospital. Shintaro tries to explain what happened and they run into Hibiya, who seems to understand that the incident was not just an accident. Shintaro tries to question him, but Hibiya collapses. After that, Kido explained to Shintaro and Momo that the Mekakushi Dan members gained their powers after escaping the Kagura days during near-death experiences. And this is a major event because Shintaro finally learns the basic truth behind the Ai abilities. They are not just random powers, they are connected to death, survival, and loss. And while the other Mekakushi Dan members are busy finding Hibiya and Hiyori, they leave Shintaro behind. And while checking on Mari at the Mekakushi Dan hideout, Shintaro discovers a photo of Ayano. And this leads to one of my favorite moments in the anime. He is not just learning lore anymore. The story forces Ayano directly back into his hands. The photo becomes the trigger that connects the dance mystery to Shintaro's personal regret. And until this point, Shintaro has been pulled into other people's problem. But now the anime makes it clear. The entire story is connected to the person he lost. And then, his eye ability activates. The snake of retaining eyes finally shows him every single memory from every other route, as he finally finds the answer that Ayano asked him during the manga route. Why did she die? And in Act 9, Ayano's Year of Happiness, Shintaro does not act in the present for most of the episode. It focuses more on Ayano's past and her battle with the snake of clearing eyes, so we will be skipping this episode for now. In Act 10, Fantasy Forest, we will be skipping this again since Shintaro does not have a major role here. And in Act 11, Shintaro finally reaches one of his most important anime moments. At the start of the episode, he wakes up and remembers a tragedy he has seen over and over in his dreams. His retaining eyes awaken, just like what happened during the last episode, revealing that he has always had the ability to retain memories across repeated worlds. And this moment in the anime confirms that every single story of the Kagura project is connected into one big story. So during this, decides to unalive himself to go inside the Kagura days and find Ayano. Act 11 is the episode where Shintaro stops being only the boy trapped by regret and becomes the person who can carry the memory of the repeated summers. And in Act 12, Summertime Record, Shintaro finally returns during the final moments together with Ayano and Haruka. Before he arrives, the rest of the Dan escapes from the kidnappers, reaches Kenjiro's lab, and confronts the snake. The snake reveals that the current world was created by Mari's wish to be with her friends, resulting in an endless loop where the snake keeps surviving. Then the snake possesses Konoha's body and proceeds to overwhelm the Mekakushi Dan. It tries to pressure Mari into taking their snakes and restarting the cycle again. This is the exact kind of ending Seiyuru wants. But before that could happen, the words of Mari's friends stop her from restarting the cycle. Then, Shintaro, Ayano, and Haruka arrive. They give Mari the power to swallow everything. Mari chooses the future over the fantasy world and overcomes the snake, and the cycle is finally broken. This is Shintaro's final moment in the anime. He does not defeat Seiyuru alone. He does not solve everything with one genius plan. Instead, he arrives with Ayano at the point where memory, previous routes, and everyone's feelings finally connect. His presence matters because he carries the memories that allowed this final route to be different. That is why Shintaro's anime ending works. He begins in Act 1 as someone who cannot even leave his room unless his keyboard breaks. By Act 12, he has gone from avoiding the world to carrying the memories of previous routes. That is why anime route is the completion of Shintaro's character. He is not the most physically active character in every episode, and he is not always the central focus, but every episode either pulls him further from isolation, restores a piece of his past, or prepares him to remember the truth. The manga route shows Shintaro failing, then receiving the possibility of memory. The novels show why remembering matters, but the anime shows what happens when Shintaro finally remembers in the route where everyone can move forward. So, after going through Shintaro's story across the music route, the manga, the novels, and finally the anime route, I think what makes him such an interesting protagonist is that he really does not feel like one at first. He is not cool in the traditional sense, he is not naturally heroic, he is not emotionally open, and honestly, for a lot of the story, he is kind of a terrible person to be around. He is rude, awkward, sarcastic, and constantly acts like caring about anything is a waste of time. But that is also what makes Shintaro feel so human. Because underneath all of that bitterness is someone who cared so much that losing people completely broke him. Shintaro's story is built around regret. Not just regret over Ayano's death, but regret over the fact that he never understood her when she was right beside him. He was a genius who could answer almost anything, but when it comes to the person who mattered the most, he failed to see the answer until it was too late. And that failure is what freezes his life. After Ayano disappears, Shintaro does not move forward. He shuts himself away, his room becomes the place where time stops, he keeps living but only barely. He avoids people, avoids the outside world, and avoids anything that might force him to remember the pain he keeps running from. That is why every part of Shintaro's story feels like a different stage of dealing with his regret. In Jitsu Enemy, we see Shintaro rejecting reality completely. In Tomei Answer, we see the origin of his regret through Ayano. In Lost Time Memory, we see the difference between a Shintaro who drowns in memory and a Shintaro who chooses to move forward with it. In the manga route, Shintaro tries to save everyone but fails. In the novel route, he slowly learns why remembering matters. And finally, in the anime route, Shintaro finally becomes the person who can carry those memories into the future. Shintaro is not the strongest character in the Kagura project. He is not the fastest, the kindest, or the most emotionally mature. But he has the one thing the final route needs most: memory. In a story where the world keeps resetting, where people keep forgetting, and where the same summer keeps repeating over and over, Shintaro becomes the person who remembers. He remembers the failed routes. He remembers the people who disappeared. He remembers the promises that were broken. And most importantly, he remembers Ayano. But the most important part is that he does not remember her as some perfect, unreachable symbol anymore. By the end, Shintaro finally understands Ayano as a real person. Someone kind, yes, but also someone scared, someone lonely, someone who tried to become a hero by carrying everyone else's happiness alone. And once Shintaro understands that, Ayano's smile changes meaning. For so long, that smile felt like a reminder of his failure. It haunted him because he could only see it through regret. But by the end of his story, he realizes that her smile was never meant to blame him. It was her way of keeping her promise, her way of trying to protect happiness, even when she herself was suffering. That is where Shintaro finally reaches acceptance. Acceptance does not mean forgetting Ayano. It does not mean his regret disappears. It does not mean the pain stops mattering. It means he finally stops using that pain as a reason to reject the present. Shintaro moves forward, not because the past becomes easier to carry, but because he finally chooses to carry it anyway. He does not erase the failed routes. He does not erase Ayano's death. He does not erase his own mistakes. He remembers all of them, and because he remembers, the future can finally change. At first, calling Shintaro the protagonist or the hero almost feels ironic. This is a guy who spends 2 years locked inside his room, refusing to face the world. But that exactly is why the meaning works. Moving forward means nothing if it is easy. For Shintaro, moving forward is painful because every step forces him to face the memories he spent years avoiding. He is a hero because he failed. He is a hero because he is a loser. He remembers this and still chooses to move forward. In a story about endless summers, repeated tragedies, and people desperately trying to save what they love, Shintaro becomes the one who proves that regret is not a prison. Sometimes regret is the only reason the future can change. So, when the summer finally becomes a record instead of a loop, Shintaro's story reaches its answer. The boy who once turned his eyes away from reality finally opens them. He remembers every regret. He carries every promise. And this time, he chooses tomorrow. He chooses acceptance. And that is the true meaning of Shintaro Kisaragi, Mekakushi Dan number 7. And that concludes this retrospective on Shintaro Kisaragi. So if you enjoyed this video, or if Shintaro's story means something to you, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments or in the Project 8.15 Discord server. Please join us. We have lots of cool members and we want more people to join us, so please. This has been Konohara. And next time, we'll be focusing on someone who spent her entire life trying to save someone before realizing that she was too late. This is Takane Enemoto, or Ene. But again, this is Project 8.15. The project where we will keep telling the stories of the endless summers, endless tragedies, until we finally reach that bright future.
数年経っても影は消えない感情ばっかが積もっていく薄くなって一人描いていた炎天直下坂道の上虹が僕らが歩いていた夏の温度が目に残っていた構わないでよ
It is called stupidity and commitment.
行かないよなんて言って君は僕の手を掴んだうるさいな僕はちょっと情けを振り返す
And how the fuck would... How do I get this off? Oh, what the fuck? Fuck me, hold up, no way. What the fuck? So there it was, getting a Coke like usual, you know? Nothing special. Just a hikikomori getting his Coke, you know. Somehow Anne wasn't there, so I'm guessing she was probably with Momo or something. Not like I fucking care. So I was getting my Coke, and when I got that Coke, God, it was so good. I couldn't help but to start jerking off to that shit. The way it poured down my throat and filled every part of my body. Okay, anyway, so there was it, jerking off to my Coke like any hikikomori would do. It's not weird, I swear. So I turn around, right? What the fuck do I see? This fucker, Kano, filming my ass! He has a fucking dick pic of me now! Me, with my dick in hand, jerking to a fucking Coke. And if you thought that was bad, no. I went home. The next day was the school festival, right? And there was the class that made a shooter. So I went there because I knew I would dominate that shit. I win it, and I win this fat fish from Ayano's father. And I decided to keep it because it low-key kind of it hit me out on that shit. That shit had some mad fleshlight potential. So I went home and I fucked it. Suddenly, CPS breaks down my fucking door and catches me putting my dick in that fish. Why do people keep calling? Why am I?